Okay, let me make sure that we are live here on Facebook and that we can see us inside the group. Okay, perfect. I see you. Hey,
Yay!
Kim.
Hi.
Hi.
So
Oh my
happy to be
God.
here.
I know. So excited to have you. So happy to have you join me here today for our December last guest expert interview of 2019. I'm so happy to be having you as my guest on this one. For those of you who are joining me, let us know you're here. Say hi. Let us know. I am using StreamYard. So sometimes when I'm in the app, I don't always see the comments. So I'm going to have to like bounce between Facebook and StreamYard. So bear with me if you put comments in and I don't get to them right away. But thank you, all of you for joining me, whoever's here. Again, say hi, let us know where you're joining from, and let's just dig right in. So today we are going to be talking with Kim. She's a business coach, business mentor, and mindset coach, Kim Argetsinger. I love this woman. I have not met her in real life yet, but we have had so many conversations virtually, and I just feel like I know her. But Kim, let me let you introduce yourself to everyone. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, where all that good stuff.
First, thank you for having me. Same. We've never met in person, but I feel like we know each other, and we're making the in-person hangout happen because we live close enough to one another. But thank you all for having me. My name is Kim Argetsinger. That's what that long jumble of letters is. I'm a mindset coach and business mentor, and I work with heart-centered, passion-driven, service-based entrepreneurs, creatives, and coaches. And I'm all about helping people make more money doing what they love, building, growing, scaling a business that they're wildly in love with, that actually makes you feel amazing, that also pays you really great money.
Yes. Such good stuff. And that's the key part here that I want to just drive home, because for those of you who watch my lives, who's ever been on one of my masterclass, anybody who knows me knows I'm a straight shooter. We don't bullshit. We get straight to it. And that's one of the things that I am so passionate about. And I love what you do as well in all of the ways that you serve your people and the content that you create. Just the message that you put out into the world is really doing the business that feels good, right? And making money in a way that feels good. And that's why I really wanted to invite you on to talk about this topic, because I think making money, it's one thing, but making money in a way that feels good, it's a whole other thing. And I think that we want to share this with people. So I'm going to dive right in. I have a bunch of questions I can't wait to ask you. And so while I get into it with Kim, those of you who are here and who are joining me, drop for me in the comments. Just tell me, what is your big money goal of 2020? Because we're talking about how to make more money in 2020 without the played out marketing tactics, without heavy and pushy selling, and without expensive ads. So what's your big money goal? There's no right, no wrong answer. Just pop it in there and let me see. So Kim, let's get right into it, shall we? Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Okay. So the number one question I get asked, and I'm pretty sure you get asked as well, is how do I make more money, right? Whether that looks like, so Kim and I both work with coaches, we work with service providers, we're both coaches and we're business coaches. So our audience typically they're either looking to get more clients, launch a course, whatever the outcome is, it's to generate more money in their income, right? So if you had to put the core components of making money into buckets, what would those be?
Oh, that's such a good question. So I think first and foremost, and then I'll share the buckets because I think there's some practical stuff we have to put into place, but I'm such a big believer, if we want to make more money, so much of money and making money in business is mindset and energetic space, and not in like a weird, like, oh, if you just like are being woo-woo, your money's going to fall in your lap. But
right. Or meditate money into reality.
Right. And also you kind of can, in that our thoughts really do influence our feelings, influence our actions. And so I think first and foremost, we want to get clear on, how do we even think about this? Why do we want more money? How do we think about making more money? What are the emotions we have about this? Because most of the time we want to make more money, it's because we want to feel a certain way. way?
Right.
And what's the way we want to feel? And if we can get clear on that, it makes it so much easier for us to put the practical strategy around it to make it happen in a way that feels good, which is what we're talking about. Versus, I think so often we think we just want to make money to like erase a problem, or because we think that's going to be the Band-Aid that makes us feel better. And as long as we're doing that, we're chasing something that is never going to make us feel good. And it's so much harder to create it and make it happen in real life, because we're trying to create something that essentially is going to make us feel, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on here, but feel awful. And so that's like my first bucket is just, what's the feeling? Like, why do you even want this? What do you think that's going to give you? Because if you can create that thought and feeling first, it's so much easier to create the income in your business. And then from a really practical standpoint, I think our messaging is like super, super important. Having messaging that speaks to your people. I call it heart-centered messaging. You probably call it something else. Those relationships and connections, whether it's through providing value and content or through, you know, one-on-one conversations, but building those relationships, our marketing, and then our sales. And I think just from a practical, like those are the buckets that we have to have with the mindset piece.
Absolutely. And I just love that you started out with that first bucket, right? Because I found, and I think it's just to kind of piggyback on that, I think that relationship and that story and that belief that you have with money, like it directly impacts your ability or lack thereof to actually make money, right? And then I love the way you said it in the sense that you've got to know, like, what's that feeling you want to get? It's not just about, and I really, and if you can speak a little bit more to that, I think that would be awesome. That part about what is that money going to give you? Like, what's that feeling? A lot of people like think, okay, I have to make money because of this is what the numbers should look like, or this is what everybody else is making in the industry, or that's that goal, that big flashy goal that everybody should be. I want to make $1 million by whatever. Not that anything is wrong with that, but like, what's that feeling going to give you? So can you just speak just a little bit more to that for our people here who's joining us?
Yeah, gosh, I mean, where do I start? There's so many things here. I think just to like maybe pick up from where you were leaving off, I think the trap in this is we're talking about peace. And so if we're just chasing the next money goal, what we think we're supposed to do, the next money goal, we're constantly chasing a carrot. And it's sort of like, I'm not going to be good enough until, I'm not going to feel good until. We do that with, I think we could do that in so many areas of our life, with our weight, with our relationships. I'm not fulfilled or satisfied until I'm married, or until I have kids, or until it's just this like shooting, what is it, Tony Robbins, you're shooting all over yourself, versus whether it's,
hold on one real quick second. It just said that the broadcast was interrupted. I just want to make sure that I'm not, it says that they're no longer streaming to Facebook. So I just want to make sure that.
Okay. I see while you're doing that, I see Dee's comment. She says peace of mind because the bills are paid. So I can speak to that.
Okay. It looks like we're still live.
It looks like I still see the, she says we're on. I see her comment. She says we're on.
Cool. Sorry. I just got
for letting us know.
Right, keep going.
No, we're fine. So I think I was just saying, so I think that's kind of the antithesis where it's like, we're through this like shooting on herself. It's the Tony Robbins thing versus Dee saying, so she wants to make $1,000 per week because it's peace of mind that the bills are paid. Getting clear on what is that feeling? Why do you even think you want, whether it's the 10K month or the 20K month? When you can start to get clear on what that is and find an internal reason and tap into that emotion, you can start to create that emotion for yourself now. And that's how we then show up as if that's true and start to attract that in our life. What tends to happen is as long as there's a gap and a separation, that's when we get into that lack mentality. And that's when it's sort of like, I'm not good enough until, and that keeps getting pushed forward versus I'm inherently good enough and I just want to feel peace of mind. How do I feel peace of mind in my day-to-day life? If I can find peace of mind in my day-to-day life and start to embody that now, I'm going to show up in my business that way, in my messaging, in my relationship building, in my content, in my marketing. I'm going to attract this to me. And then the magic of it is, it's almost like we don't need the money to fulfill us for that reason. And then we're not so graspy onto it. Like, I need this to make me feel better. And that's when it's so much easier to achieve anything in life. We're talking about money, but think about dating. If you're on a date, you're like, I need to have a boyfriend so that I feel good about myself. And then you go on a date and you're like super grabby, like, go out with me. Like, please say you love me. You're like the weirdest person ever versus if you love yourself and you feel great and you're like, it'd be awesome to have a relationship. You're on a date and you're just chill and you're yourself and you allow it to happen naturally. And it's like magic that it happens because you're not being that like graspy, desperate person. Does that make sense?
100%. And I think just to speak to that dating, it's like, they always said, there's this saying that confidence is the sexiest thing, right? And it's the same sort of like mentality and mindset and energy you bring to making money, because that's what really will attract that money. Similarly to the date, you're there and you're just chill and you're just grounded in yourself and owning, your own power. That's the sexiest thing. That's what will attract the date or the whoever. And the money is the same, would you say?
I mean, it's such a mind. Can I curse? Do you care?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
All right. It's such a mind. Okay. I just want to make sure. I want to respect your space.
Yeah,
it's such a mind fuck, I think, but it's what I have found to be true over and over again in my business. The less I need money, the less I need a client, the less I need something to make myself feel good or to pay the bills or whatever, the more I attract, for this exact reason. It's not that I don't care. And I think that's where it gets confusing, because I think we almost let the pendulum swing, and we go from being confident to well, I don't care. I don't need that. Right. And it's not that. I still care. I still want it. I still want to grow to the next level. But the more I just realize I'm so good where I'm at, and all of my emotional needs are met, I feel so great. And I feel all the feelings of abundance or wealth or whatever that is. And I don't need this. The irony is, it's what we're talking about. It's the confidence. It's being on that date. The more you show up and you're able to attract, because you're not please give me everything I need because I don't feel good enough.
Right. I think the danger.
I'm very animated today.
Say that again?
I'm very animated today.
No, it's all good. I talk with my hands all the time. I think I was going to say something, but I think what was I going to say? It's going to come to me, but that's the whole idea of really just also just trusting, detaching and just trusting, right? But I think that there's this way where it's easy for someone who yourself, like myself, who, we've got a certain level of success in business to be able to know that and believe that and preach and teach that. But for someone who has not experienced that yet, right, it's easy for them to sort of listen into this or read something along these lines and think, oh yeah, right. It's easy for them to say or whatever. What would you say to someone who is feeling that resistance around, is this even possible for me? Because I've been trying to do the mindset thing. I've been trying to think positive and detach, but it's still not happening for me. What would you say to that?
I love this question, because what I will say to everyone here, I have a really successful business. I make great money. And if you rewind the tape to when I started my business, I was not making great money. It was not easy for me. I did not have these mindset beliefs. I had tons of mindset stuff to work through. And I was living in New York City. I had started over, and I was so stressed about even how can I pay the rent and how can I pay the bills? And so what I would say is, I get it, because I lived that resistance. And so it's a really real thing. And then I think so much of the work becomes around forgiving yourself for feeling that way, because I think it's so easy to hear something like this and either make it feel like it's not possible, or make ourselves feel wrong in the moment. I think Safia, we know someone similar who talks about this a lot. I think Lacey talks about this a lot, but it's so easy to make ourselves feel wrong in the moment for whatever our circumstances are, versus I think then this sounds so cheesy, and I know past me probably would have felt like this was nails going down a chalkboard, and it was also the antidote I needed in that moment. I think the more we can also just notice that that's our resistance and start to lean into gratitude for everything we have, and I know this sounds cheesy, but I mean it so sincerely, the more I think we're able to start to shift through that and realize, if we're watching someone on the internet, we already have it better than the majority of so many people in the world. And I know it doesn't feel like that in the moment. And I know it's so easy to get in shine. I get it. Past me, who couldn't afford a cup of coffee in New York City, gets it. And also, what a beautiful gift to be in a place to even have that kind of lack. And I think the more we can find gratitude for that, the more it helps us start to shift through that resistance and start to find gratitude for everything we literally have. What I did is I started keeping an evidence log in my phone.
Yes.
I literally started tracking all the abundance I already have, all the little things. And suddenly I realized, oh my gosh, I literally have so much. And it's so easy for me to spin out. Our brain's wired that way. We notice negative 3 to 1. It's so easy to notice all the negative. We have to retrain our brain to start to notice, look at everything I have. And it's not necessarily easy, but it is very, very doable. And I think I'm proof, and I'm sure you are too.
Yeah, well, I was looking here. I have a pile of paper on my desk I'm going to sort through, but I was actually I was going to show them my little evidence journal, because that's exactly, I can 100% relate to that, where there was a time in my business where I was in that like, oh, I need this client. I need to like get this to pay the bills or to do whatever. And that was the hardest time in my business. But when I really started to actually like take those little daily steps to look for the evidence. And I think this is one of the things that I tell my clients who are struggling with this as well. It's like, make an evidence journal, become an evidence seeker, like take literally every day, write down every single thing that is going right in your life. That is look for the evidence that's showing you that you can make the money, that the business is growing, that the business is viable, that you are qualified, whatever those doubts are, whatever those things are, write down the opposite of it. Okay, sorry, the baby's here. Yes.
This is called real life.
This happens on almost all of my live streams.
I love it.
All right, here, baby, go watch your show with your sister. And so I love that you said yes. Sorry, Kim, home.
You do your thing.
Okay.
I'll chat about this while you're doing that.
Okay, I'm just gonna mute my camera real quick. So just go ahead and
I'll just riff on the gratitude piece. I think, okay, I'm going to pick this up while she's hanging out with the kids, which I think is a beautiful example of how life just happens and the beauty of having your own business. But I think just so the evidence piece here, I think it's so easy for all of us to think that it's just like this one magic thing we do, or this one magic step we take, or this like one day everything just flips. And what I have found to be true is it's not really that there's one magic thing. It's what we're doing every single day. And so something like the evidence log or something like gratitude, it's doing that every day. And then suddenly you wake up one day and you're like, oh, this feels so easy. This feels like that thing those two chicks were talking about where it feels like magic. But it's just that you've been showing up every day to start to change the thought patterns versus putting all that pressure that I think so many of us can put on ourselves that we expect from day 1 to day 2 that we're going to suddenly think in a completely different way. Yeah. Does that resonate? I mean, is that something
100%
you see with your clients?
100%. And I can say that so confidently because like you, I am living, walking proof of that, right? Like you wake up one day and it's like, wow, all the things that I wanted is here. Like I am fully booked. The money is in the bank, like, and it's happening and it's feeling good as it happens. So 100%. So this isn't, you guys, this isn't just some woo-woo stuff we're like just pulling out of our asses here. This is like legit stuff that works. You do the work, you put in those tangible little steps every single day and it shows up. And when it shows up, it's like magic that it does, right?
It feels like magic. And I don't know, I've like slowly bought into the woo-woo. So I think it is magic. And also it's not magic in that it's really practical because you're showing up every day. And there's so much science in terms of how our brain is wired and what we're doing neurologically to rewire our brain and how we're telling our brain to focus on what we want. And so it's a little bit of column A, column B. I think it's like the same thing, but depending, like sometimes it's helpful to hear that there's a lot of science to back it up. And that helps me to like know that, like, okay, I think it's magic and also it's science. So for any of the people who might be like, I don't know about this woo-woo stuff.
Well, it's funny because that's actually one of my questions that I have later on, but let's just ask it now, right? Okay. We're both nerds when it comes to this science connection, neurological connection between our brains and sales and money. So just bringing it sort of back to like the making money here, like I'll let you share because like I'm a big nerd about it and I'm, I'll just piggyback off of you, but I'll let you share what the importance is, like that's science, that scientific neurological connection between your brain, the wiring of your brain and actually making money and how they can use this to actually make more money in 2020.
Oh gosh. Okay. So you mean in terms of, just so I can make sure I'm answering this the way you mean, like how can, like, what are some things they can understand about how the brain works that has to do with like maybe sales and making money?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. So I like to geek out on this. I'll just throw a few things at people. I think there's 3 things I can throw out here. I think the first one, just to maybe kind of close out the loop that we were talking about, is knowing that there's a part of our brain called the reticular activating system. And this is basically where the secret comes from. It's the part of our brain that is like it's the filtration system, and what we put into there, it basically tells our mind what to pay attention to. So when we're talking about like woo-woo magic, sales, I want to make more money, I want to make $1,000 per week. When we start to focus on this, we tell this part of our brain, focus on opportunities, focus on things that make this possible. And that's when things start to feel like magic and opportunities are falling from the sky. It's because you've literally programmed the part of your brain that tells you what to notice. This is the same part of the brain that keeps us sane in New York City. If we didn't have this, we would notice every single siren and crazy person on the street versus like getting to where we want to go.
It's almost like just like putting on your selective pair of glasses that you want to see the world through, right?
I love that example. That's exactly what it is. And so it feels like magic, but it's literally, you're programming your brain. You're putting on the glasses, like you say, like, what view do I want to see today? I love that example. Second thing I'll say here is we are wired as humans, and I'm sure this is something you talk probably about a lot. We're wired to connect. It is like such a core human need. We like hunter-gatherer days, like have been wired to be a part of a tribe and to fit in and to be safe and to avoid pain and seek pleasure. And I think these are all just things that are inherently part of sales. So knowing that we're wired to fit in and connect, really, I think so much of marketing and sales is about building those connections, that trust, that community, and knowing that we're wired to avoid pain and seek pleasure. That's what we're doing in marketing and selling. We're showing people through our services, through our work, here's a way you can avoid pain and get more pleasure. And I think if we can know that's literally how our brain is wired, we can also bring this into our sales processes and conversations and know that this works because this is how we're wired as humans. Does that make sense?
Totally. I mean, it makes sense for me because I'm there with you on that. If you guys are listening to this and you're still not clear and you have questions about that, please put those in the comments. Kim and I will get to those. But yes, because it's like you have to show your people, your market, your audience, that pain pleasure that you are wired to actually. And in the way that I look at it is like when I think of connection, and you know I say this a lot, it's like you have to be able to build that connection with your people, and it shows through science. It shows through like there's so much data, there's so much science, there's so much psychological. I say psychological, it's kind of like a heavy word, but you know what I mean. Connection between the way consumers actually, the buyer psychology, right? I'm like losing my words here, but the psychology of buyers and what actually helps buyers to convert so that you make more money. So that if you're marketing yourself and you're putting your business out there, you're talking about your services, the way that you're building that connection with your people and the way that you're showing them that your thing, whatever your service is, whatever the thing is that you're offering is the thing that they need, and the way you're bridging that connection for them. And the way that you're making them feel in the process highly influences buying decisions, right? Would you say, Kim?
Yeah. Is it okay if I piggyback off of that? I think, just bringing it back to like the whole conversation here, making more money. So if we want to make more money, they've done studies that if you have two products or services that are pretty similar, we will buy from the person we think we know or like more. Even if, and here's what's fascinating, even if your product or service isn't as high quality as the other product. And so this just goes back to what you're saying. That's all about connection and relationship building. That's why we hear know, like, and trust all the time. If you're building that know, like, and trust, that connection, which goes back to like, we're wired as humans to connect. Not that everyone here has a superior product or service, and I know that, but even if not, it's going to help you make more money because people buy based on this connection and likability, and we buy based on emotions, and then we fill it in with logic. And so it's all about how is someone feeling? How do you make them feel that makes them make that buying decision? Does that feel like what kind of what we were saying here?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and I'll use a quick little example of my nails. So I used to go to this nail spa salon that was pretty big. Everybody in my area, or a lot of people in my area, go to them. They're big, they're popular, they're in one of the biggest malls out here. They're a little bit more expensive, but it's like everybody goes there. They're very, very popular. I'm all about like connection is such a value to me, but you always feel like a number. They're just pumping you out. They're pumping you out. They're pumping you out. And that started to rub me the wrong way. So I found another place. I was actually like literally 2 minutes away from my house. It's a small place. The decor is like old school 90s. You know, the owner of this nail place is an older gentleman who is just the warmest, sweetest heart. You walk in there, anyway, long story short, they do not have a wide selection of colors. They do not have all the latest stuff in terms of the nail world, whatever. But damn, you get a good manicure and a pedicure, and you get service, and you get attention, and you get care. And their prices are on par. But if I wanted to go get all blinged out or whatever, I may not go there. But if I wanted to really feel good, that's the place that I go back to time and time again. So I think that's a good little example, because I really feel that connection to the owner, to the way that people make you feel, even though it's dated and it's not like the hippest place in town. It's the place that makes me feel really, really comfortable when I go there. And I'll pay 10 times more to go there over and over again, because that connection is that important to me, you know?
What I love, and Dee says, but you feel better in that salon. I can see the comment just popping up. I don't know why they just started popping up now again. What I love about that is two things. It's literally like just such a great example of we buy based on feelings and emotions. And then what you're sharing with us now is you filling it in with logic. You're like, and here are all the reasons that's logical. And it brings it full circle to the beginning of our conversation in terms of we're seeing feelings are what drive our buying and what drives it for our consumers. It's also what drives us in terms of making that money. And it's just sort of like we're seeing that connection through everything, which I love because it's so meta, like connected through it all.
Exactly. All right. So here's my next question for you. So in this online space, and most of my audience here who will be watching the replay, they own online businesses, right? And I think there's this narrative in the online space where there's like these two sides of the pendulum, where it's like, in order to make money, it looks like grit and hustle and like launching all the time and being this like almost like omnipresent, like being doing all the things almost, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's the other side of the pendulum where it's like laptop lifestyle, work from the beach, this kind of like ease sort of like thing. And not that any is wrong, and I certainly have both. But what would you say to someone who is trying to make more money, whose goal is to make more money in 2020, and they're kind of straddling between both of those sides of the pendulum, and they're not exactly sure where to land? Does that question make sense?
You mean, so I get like the two places we can be, because I've been in both. Like hustle, grind, push, or a little like lean back, ease, flow. Right. If someone comes to me and they're like literally like I'm flopping between the two, what would I say? Yeah,
like so, or because of the narrative that we constantly hear, it's one or the other. Like if they're not sure where to land, they know that they want to make more money in 2020, and they've been seeing, do I do the hustle? Do I just like launch and like do all the things and run all the ads and be everywhere? Or can I really make more money by just in this ease and flow sort of mentality? What would you say to that?
I have a lot of things to say, so I'll try to keep it concise. I think the first thing I will say, which is just sort of the annoying answer, which is whatever you believe to be true is going to be true. So if you think it needs to be really effing hard and you need to be all over the place, you're going to need to be all over the place, and it's going to be really hard because that's what you've decided. And so what do you want to be true? Because that's what you get to build.
Yeah.
What I have found separately from that is less is truly more. Mm-hmm. And so it's not even, I think hustle is more a mindset than the action. It might look to someone else like I'm hustling, but I feel very easeful in my business. Yeah. And so I think it is more a mindset, like, because I think sometimes people think that means like tapping out if we're making it be easy, like being on the beach. And I think the reminder I would say with marketing, with sales, with making money is it does get to be simple. And what I have found is less is more, and focusing all our energy on doing one thing really well. And for me, the more I lean out of hustle and into ease, meaning simplicity and not doing all the things, the more money I make. But that is also what I have very consciously chosen to be true for me. Yeah. I think I could easily decide the other one is true and make that work. I just would probably be miserable. And so much of my mission is about loving my work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And I got to say, like, in full transparency, being a mom of three, right? Like I do have my like now it's like December, it's end of year, and I really consciously choose to just be at ease. Like I choose to not have as many sales calls. I choose to not be as visible online. I choose to not do as many live streams or whatever that I would normally do, because it's really, really important to me right now to have that sense of ease and to feel like my business is not like burning me out or tearing me from my family or the things that I want to do at this time of year. But my business is still running. Like there's all these different systems and things that I've put in place consciously since November, October, because I knew this is what I wanted to feel in December. And then come January, I might shift into a little bit more of a, lack of a better word, hustle, but more of that, like, okay, let's step things up. It's new year. And I think, and as you were saying before, I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong with either. It's just kind of like, if you know it's not serving you, right? If the hustle is not serving you, then something needs to be addressed there. If the ease is becoming too ease and you're not seeing results, and then you're kicking yourself in the ass and wondering why, then that needs to be addressed. But I just think that there's so much of that narrative out there where it almost makes you look at it and think, and I know I get a lot of questions around this. It's like you're setting yourself up to a standard that you're seeing out there with other business owners or other people on your new news feeds or whatever. And can almost make you wrong yourself for not hustling or not easing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, what comes up for me there, and tell me if this makes sense, but it's sort of like what we were talking about in terms of wanting to make more money. Like, yeah. Yes, but like finding the money in like the business that you love and like that makes sense for you versus like, oh, I just see online someone's talking about 10K months or 20K months, and therefore I'm not good unless I make that much. It's sort of the same thing with like hustle and doing all the things. And this is something I feel like I'm always talking about. There's a great quote that I don't remember who says it, but it's being really mindful when we're online and everyone's business is in our face of not comparing where we're at, like maybe if we're beginning or in the middle of our business, to someone else that's in a completely different stage that we don't know the back end of their business.
100%.
I have someone supporting me now that I didn't a few years ago. And so it's easy to see, oh, I'm all over the place, but I'm not physically doing that. If I had tried to do that a few years ago, I would have been burnt out.
Right.
And I think those are just things to, just because of the online space with everything in our face, just remembering that and knowing everyone you're looking at who's at that place got there, like they were at a different place to get there. And I think we forget that they've had the same journey. Does that make sense?
100%. 100%. Okay, so let's talk real quick about each piece of this topic here, which is making money without the played out marketing tactics and the heavy selling and the expensive ads. So let's talk about those marketing tactics here. So what do you think, and I can talk about this for days.
Oh, me too.
But what do you think was something that used to work that is no longer working, but people are still sort of like stuck doing that or trying to repeat results using that? And why do you think it no longer works?
Okay. I want to be mindful not to say something doesn't work only because, sometimes it can, but I think, just so I feel like I have to say that for anyone who's watching. But I think we could probably both agree that 5 years ago, email funnels, or even just like the whole idea of like, put an opt-in in, walk someone through an email funnel, throw some ad money at the front of it, and it's like a little ATM machine. You pump money in and it pumps money out.
Yeah,
that still works. It's not that doesn't work, but I don't think it works to the same degree it used to. And I think that causes a lot of people to spin out and get frustrated and think there's something broken in their business. So that is something I think is a little antiquated and frustrating and costs people expensive money trying to test.
Yes. So what do you think? Okay, so I'll come back. I'll loop back to that again. So
I know there's so many things there.
Okay, let's talk about, well, let me see. Do I want to ask you that now? So I'll pause on that. So let's talk about the heavy selling. So the heavy selling can look like, again, a series of ads. And like you said, and I thank you for saying that, because indeed, it's not that it doesn't work. It still works, but I think it's how you go about doing it. I think there's different layers and elements now that I teach my clients to really make it more personable, increase that connection, because that's what I'm all about, where you actually get even better results. But let's talk about the heavy selling. So there is, and I think more and more people are now conscious that there is another way. But there was, and I know there's still quite a few people that are like, I don't want to sound salesy. I don't want to sound pushy in the DMs. I don't want, like, because before it was like, I don't want to do it on the phone. Now this whole new revelation of like, or the revolution of like the DMing and all that stuff and making sales and, you know, generating leads from DMs. Now that's transferred onto even there. I don't want to be too pushy in the DMs. Talk about that. Like, why do you, like, what would you say to that in terms of what isn't working? How can we go about making more money without feeling that heavy selling?
First, that's like the thing I hear the most, right?
Yeah.
Like sales are pushy, sales are icky. There has to be a better way. So I think that is just its own separate conversation.
Yep.
I think around the mindset and selling and just even reframing what is selling. And I think that's what's so beautiful about your approach, because it is so much about connection and being of service. And I think if we can remember that, it changes so much. In terms of what's working, what's not working. So here's what's fascinating. I find for my clients, I have clients who do cold reach outs and who do cold DM people and who leave people voice messages, and it works really well for them. And I have other people where it doesn't work well for them. And I think there's such a message online about like either side of the fence. And I think it's so much more about the approach and what feels good for you. And so what I find for the clients who do that and it works well, it's because they like when that happens to them. So they love when someone reaches out to them and they love that approach. And so that's just the way they build relationships and connection versus someone else. That's not how they build relationships and connection. And if we take a look at that, it's that, oh, there's no wrong or right in terms of DMing someone or messaging someone. It's starting to get clear of, oh, this comes back to connection and relationship, just like anything else. How do I build relationships in real life? Because this is real life. And how can I mimic that? And what do I like? And what feels good to me when I'm being sold to? And how can I mimic that in my sales process? And I think the more we can lean into that, the more it inherently works versus feeling like we have to do like what is or isn't working online. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think it totally brings us back to the first question, which is your relationship with sales, like how you've been sold to, what that means, that relationship, that story, the beliefs you have around that. It's so easy for you to take that and just put a stamp on, now this is what all sales feel like. And then that just limits your business in so many ways. I can't tell you how many people and clients, when they first come to me, like, that's the thing, like, I've been sold to and it's made me feel this way or whatever. And I don't want to feel that way. And they're like, but I can't come off like that in my sales. So therefore I don't know how to sell. And it's like, there's a whole other way, or not, I don't know how to sell, but I'm not comfortable selling. I'm not comfortable with sales. I don't want to feel salesy. And it really is that, that relationship. But like you said, and as I teach, it's like, it's really about identifying how you like to be sold to, and really building and establishing that connection with your people. And so would you agree, Kim, and feel free to disagree if you do, but would you agree that that's a thing that always works, like has not changed regardless of the trends and the shifts in the marketing?
You mean the connection for selling?
Right.
Oh, I mean, I think this goes back to our other conversation, like the earlier part of our conversation. We're wired as humans to connect. Like it is a core human need, unless you are a psychopath or a sociopath. We have a human need to connect. We have
a need to connect in a different way.
Yes, a whole different conversation there. But I mean, it goes back to like, there's whatever. We don't even need to go down that rabbit hole. So it's always going to work in sales, whether we're online or offline, whatever happens in the future when we take ourselves offline, like those core fundamental human principles are never going to go away. And here's something, have you read Daniel Pink's work at all?
No.
There's a book called To Sell is Human. I love it. It's really great. But he talks a lot about how we always sell in our everyday life. Yeah. And I think this is something to remember. This goes back to the forget business, forget online, forget all of that. Just human. I sell my boyfriend on going to a certain restaurant for dinner. You sold me on joining you on this conversation. We might sell our friend to go see a movie with us. We're always selling our ideas to people. We just don't label it selling, so it doesn't feel yucky. So that's one of the things just to kind of speak to this. Yes, to answer your question, I agree. And I think that's just how we can know it's always going to be the case, because it's what we've always been doing as humans.
Yes, 100%. So you guys, the thing that I want to sort of just kind of reiterate there is that you're here because you want to learn how to make more money in 2020, right? And if you know that you're struggling with that, if you know that that's an area that you're like this big mystery to you, it's like, think about what Kim and I just talked about. Think about how do you like, if you know like you're not selling enough, what's the reason behind that? Like, why are you not, whether it's getting visible, marketing yourself, or having enough sales conversations, or asking for the sale enough? What's your relationship with sales, right? And then if you know you're doing all the things, but you're missing the connection part, like the connection part, and I'm going to hijack every single conversation I will ever get on this, because the connection part is the thing that helps you to sell, right? And so I think that that's just when you're thinking about making more money, you've got to kind of look at it from that holistic view. It's not like all of the, what's the next strategy, or like back to the mindset from the beginning of this conversation, that relationship that you have, and then making sure all those other pieces are flowing with it, right? So what do you think, Kim, is the primary reason, and we might have already touched on this, but just what is the primary reason why you think people don't make the kind of money that they want to make?
Fear.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many reasons and we could like pull apart, but I think fear of success, fear of failure. I make a lot of money. Suddenly I'm going to stand out and my friends aren't going to like me. I'm going to make a lot of money and people are going to expect me to pay for things. I'm going to try to sell and people aren't going to buy from me. I'm going to find out I'm actually not good enough and suck. I think I'm afraid to put myself out there. I'm afraid to go on, like all the different things, the strategies we have to do. I think if we just peel back the layers, it's all fear.
I actually was just having a conversation this week with a client, and what's behind that was, I'm going to make all this money and I don't know how I'm going to manage it. Yeah, it's all fear. It's all fear at the end of it. So we don't always identify or see right away that that's what it is. It's always like, I'm not making money because my copy is off, or I'm not making money because of X, Y, or Z. And those are tangible, tactical things that absolutely should be addressed, right? 100%. We're not discounting that at all. No. But the mindset piece and the fear, and again, that relationship with money is thing number one. Because guess what? The copy and the strategy and the ad and all that other stuff is only and ever going to get better or work when you do the mindset piece, right? 1,010% when you're feeling different, even when you sit down to write the copy. Yeah. I edit a lot of my clients' copy. It's fascinating. Yeah. I can see the difference in their mindset, in their copy. Like I'll notice, I'm like, you're apologizing through here because we don't see it in ourselves. What I will offer, this is like the work, I still have to do at every level. I know it's always fear. Whenever I feel like I'm hitting a block or I'm not getting to the next level, one of my favorite questions is just to ask myself and journal around, what am I afraid of here? Like, what am I afraid is going to happen if I make more money? What am I afraid is going to happen if I hit this number, if I book more clients, or I get fully booked this many months out, whatever the thing is. And it's always fascinating because that's always where the answer lies. And sometimes it's like, I'm worried I'm not going to have any time left or whatever the thing is. And then we know the real thing to take a look at. And then you're not pulling back in your copy or hiding in your content. Beautiful. And so the converse of that is, what would you say in your experience and with working with clients and is the primary reason people actually do hit their financial goals?
Confidence. I mean, it's such a it's so frustrating to hear that because we want, I think, at least I know I used to want to hear. You want to hear the steps, right? Like, here's the secret. Like, they said this one magical thing and then everyone bought from them. Here, I'm an ex-actress, so this is a story I'll tell you from acting. What I have found to be fascinating, if I look back at the acting work I used to book, it wasn't necessarily the jobs I was any better at. Sometimes it was the auditions. I like screwed up royally in the audition room. Every single time it was the one that I walked in with confidence and belief, and it was how I handled myself, even if I like messed up or screwed up or like whatever, like didn't look great or I was sick or had a cold, versus the ones where like I had rehearsed, knew my stuff so well, but I felt bad about myself. And that's selling yourself. And it's the same thing. The clients I see because I have clients at every different level who are just like, one client right now is getting near $1 million. Here's what's fascinating. She just believes in what she's selling. She believes in herself. She has confidence and she doesn't make anything a big deal. So we launch something, she does the strategy, she takes action, but there's mistakes everywhere. And she's like, that's fine. I'll just put another post out tomorrow. Or she has a call and someone doesn't buy. She's like, that's cool. There'll be someone else. And it's just such a different way to think about it versus when we're obsessing over every little thing because we don't have the confidence.
100%. And that's something, you guys, that's something, if you resonate with that, if you're listening to what Kim is saying and you're resonating and you're thinking, I'm the person that beats myself up, or I'm the person that wrongs myself, or I'm the person that I don't know how I can just say, it's okay, because so much is riding on that thing. Just know that you don't get there overnight. Just know that it's daily steps. It's a process. It takes work. Be kind to yourself in that process, because it's not something that you just wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden you're like this different human being. And we don't know how long. You might feel that way for a couple hours, but talk to us in a week, right? So just know that if you're listening to Kim and you're listening to this and you're like, but I don't even know how to do that yet, just know that it's just baby steps, one step at a time. Stay consistent with it. Be kind to yourself in the process, and just believe that you will get there. And that's like, just stick to your what's the word I'm looking for? But just stay consistent with your work around your mindset and working towards that, right? Okay, so
can I offer one thing there?
Absolutely.
Because this feels important to me to share, because we were talking, this is kind of full circle what we were talking about earlier. I just feel like, for full transparency, everyone watching, I've had to do so much work around this. Like this, I am not a overnight success. And every morning we're talking half an hour to an hour just on my mindset, just to get my brain in the right place. So just to put a button on that, because I don't want people to think yeah.
Well, listen,
full transparency.
No, oh my God, let's talk transparency here. That's one of the things I'm very honest with my community. I'm very transparent. I used to have, and I'm not even going to lie, it still comes up, because I'm a mom. One of the things that being a mom and having 3 kids and having other responsibilities outside of my business, that used to be one of the biggest things that made me feel like I am not going to get to that level of success fast enough. Because when you look in the coaching space, in the coaching industry, a lot of the really successful female business coaches, they're not moms. Most of them are not moms, at least not the ones that I'm aware of, right? And if they are moms, there's a whole team of support, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now that's going down a whole other conversation. But I say that because, full transparency, yes, it's I did not wake up and feel what I'm feeling today 2 years ago, 3 years ago, even a year ago. It's constant everyday work. I get up in the morning and I do my journaling every single day. I work on my mindset. And the days that I don't, because I'm just tired, or my kids or whatever, there's one thing I shared in my group a little while ago. It's when I would drop the kids off, because the mornings sometimes can be crazy. When I drop the kids off, I turn the radio off when the last drop off is done. And I have a 10-minute drive before I get back to my desk. And I just turn the radio off, and that's my time. That's my mindset time. Because I have just learned the importance of getting it in. It is a game changer. It is a difference maker. And again, it's easy to it's so annoying to hear, mindset. But you guys, it is literally the thing. It is the thing, right?
Yeah. I didn't mean to hijack the conversation, but yes, it is changed my entire, it's, people want to know my strategy. I'm that's my strategy. I literally talk to myself in the mirror. If I only have 5 minutes in the morning, my boyfriend knows I'm just going to talk to myself in the mirror while I'm making coffee to say the positive things.
And when I'm feeling shitty and when I'm having bad days and I'm having my doubts, et cetera, that's what I do. I talk to myself. I literally speak kindly to myself, talk positive things to myself. I coach myself, really, right?
Same.
Okay. So let me see. I know we're almost out of time. So let me just so what would you say? Okay, you might have just answered this, but let's ask it anyway.
Okay.
What would you say has contributed to your success and making money in your business in this year? And what do you think is going to be the thing that's going to continue to help you in the years to come?
Can I say more than one thing?
100%. Say as much as you like.
All right. I think a handful of things. So we've already touched on the mindset. 99% of all of our conscious action gets its start in our subconscious mind. It's like mindset forever and ever. Like I will, like that has made hands down the biggest difference in my entire life.
Yeah.
I will save the spiel because we've already talked about it, but like my life is different because of mindset work. Working with my own coach and investing, I think you could probably speak to that, but investing in myself, like I used to hate when people said that, but there's just something different that happens when we invest at a high level and having that support. Game changing. Learning sales and learning to love selling in the way that feels good for me. I call it heart-centered sales. I think you have, a connection-based version of it. That's game changing. Like that is marketing. Sales is the lifeblood of our business from a strategy side. And then I think now what's making a difference is leaning more and more into asking for and receiving support. So delegating more, being open to receiving support. So whether that's from mastermind admin or a coach or from, my team, because I know I'm at a level where I literally can't grow anymore and make more money unless I open myself up to that. And as high achievers, us type A people, we do not like to do that. At least for me, that's like my new growth, my new edge.
No, I love that. And I think that just to kind of add on those really tactical, tangible pieces to that, because I think, again, it's like, we want to really be able to look like, when I think about my business, what do I need to do practically to make money in my business? And if you look at those core areas where you just have a question mark and you don't know either how to do it, or you're strapped for time, or you need to, like I always say, you know what you know and you don't what you don't, right?
Exactly.
And the best gift you can give yourself and your business is to get that support. Your business is only ever going to grow when you actually get the support you need to grow it. And again, that could look like, depending on where you are, that could look like a coach. It could look like a VA. It could look like taking some sort of a course or something on writing better copy or sales or whatever your thing is that you need strengthening.
It could be a babysitter.
It could be a babysitter, 100%. So you have more time. Yeah, totally. And I think that that's such a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think it's not always these big extravagant things. It's like, let's just get practical. Like, you want to make more money. Okay, what's stopping you from doing that? Now let's address those things. Right?
Yeah. I mean, just like before I could afford team, literally I started dropping my laundry off and getting takeout, like, because that gave me my hours back. And it's such a silly example. And I mean, I get that that's still a luxury by all means. I understand that. However, that was way less expensive than bringing on a team member, and it brought back, it like gave me those hours back. And I offer that as an example because sometimes we think it has to be the coach or the DA. I mean, I'm biased. I think coaching is life changing. However, sometimes it can be something like get the babysitter for a few hours.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with that. And then a lot of people actually sit around, and there's this whole other conversation that we can spend a lot of time on as well. And that is, but I'll make the money first and then hire the coach. Or let me get the client first and then I'll hire the help or do whatever. And it's like, let's reverse that, because the results are going to come so much faster when you get the support. And I get that sometimes you just don't have the money to invest, right? And that's very real.
It's very real. And I get that. And I respect that. Always. Right. Like, I respect that. And I'll just also offer that I'm trying to think of how to say this in a way that feels mindful, because I do understand that sometimes the situation. I think it's being mindful of the situation you're in and just knowing what your current priorities are. I know when I hired my first few coaches, quite honestly, I couldn't afford them. And I know when I renewed with one of my coaches, I literally couldn't afford it. And for me, because of my priorities, it made sense to invest money I didn't have.
Yes.
That is not the case for everyone. Sometimes your kids are your priority. Sometimes your family, you're the family member you're taking care of, your mortgage, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But then I think it makes us feel better when we can just own that, versus I think the story we tell ourselves that we're not able to do it is a very damaging story, versus I'm choosing to make this other thing a priority right now. Does that make sense? I'm trying to figure out how to phrase that.
Totally. And I love that you brought priorities, because I think that when you're able to actually see what those priorities are, you're able to sort of adjust your actions and your decision making based on that. And it could be like you're someone who might be saying, oh, I need to make 10K months or whatever, right? Because that's just the golden friggin' number in this industry, right? And not that anything is wrong with that, but that's just sort of like the number. And it's like, but my priorities are X, Y, and Z. And is that number realistic for me? So I think like when you're making your financial goals, as with any goals, it's making sure as well the money that you want to make is actually real. Like, I don't want to say, because like I really want to again be mindful that I'm not making it sound like don't think big or don't have like be ambitious, but it's like just making sure that that financial goal is not going to cost you, your peace and your sanity and your family and anything like that in the process. Just adjust that, because when you can hit that goal, it feels good, and it's 10 times more motivating to hit another goal and another goal and another goal, and you can only grow from there. Versus, there's a saying in our culture, like putting your hat where you can't reach it, right? Like it's like versus getting it, just going above what is realistic for you. If that, I just hope that did not come off wrong.
No. I think so. Two things jump out that I think just because that came out to me made perfect sense. Okay. I think of it as, I call it, some people call it staircasing. I call it like a ladder approach. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so it's so much easier to reach for the next rung on a ladder and not fall down than to try to reach 14. Like you're going to get to that like 14th rung faster. Exactly. And so I think it's the same with money goals. And then I think the other thing you're speaking to, priorities, is just values. And it's something I'm sure you talk with your clients a lot as well, is just knowing what those are, because then you can build your business in a way that makes sense versus I think what we were talking about at the beginning of the call, like having these money goals for the sake of money goals versus why do you want to make that money? Is it so you have more time with your kids? Well, let's make sure you have more time with your kids now. Maybe you don't need as much money. Maybe we need to like be clear on what those priorities are and then what those values are. And then I think that goes back to the investing thing. Yeah. And then that's okay. Like if your priority right now is your kids and your family, and that means you want to make sure some of your finances go towards that instead of investing in your business, that's fine. And then you can make a clear decision versus I think when we get into trouble is when we don't have that values clarification. Does that make sense?
Totally. And again, that makes sense to me. If anyone who's still watching us, if that's not making sense or if that's not clear, pop it in the comments, and then we'll definitely get back to that. So what shifts do you think we're going to see happen in 2020?
So I'm not a mind reader. I think this is a shift that's already been happening. So I think
I'm not a mind reader.
But I think, here's what I think. I think a couple things. I think we're going to see more people go into entrepreneurialism. Yes, there's some talk about possible things with the economy. I try not to pay too much attention to that only because it makes my brain get into negative spaces. But I think as that happens, more people will probably be going into starting their own business. So I think that's a trend, which is awesome because I think we need more people providing jobs for one another. And then I think another trend that's already happened, but as AI gets more prevalent, as bots and all of this technology becomes more prevalent, I think we'll find that there is even more of a desire and need, which I think we've already been seeing, for the human connection. And I think we've been seeing that already. I think it's why certain tools aren't working the same way they used to, because we're wired for connection, we're craving that. And the more things get automated and bot-like, the more we're like, no, but I want the real person. And so I think that's just going to be a trend we see more in 2020.
Totally. And I think for those people who have been making money in their business and they are obviously wanting to make more in 2020, just to kind of address that real quick. And please add to this if you feel like you need to add anything to this, is I think just quick, what I can just offer is just that, look at what's been working in your business and just do more of that. Go deeper on that. Just go deeper, work on that more. And just, it's not necessarily about adding more. It's not necessarily about getting more technical or more fancy. It's just go deeper on what currently is working, because if it worked and it produced results for you, chances are it's going to produce results for you again. I think another thing I would say to that, and again, Kim, feel free to share or add more to it, is that, as you mentioned, that human to human connection, like if you haven't been doing that enough, or you've been doing it and just that is the thing that's going to that never fades out. It never goes old. So whether it's in your emails that you're sending to people, whether it's your content you're creating, whether it's the DMs you're sending, the phone calls you're having, the speaking engagements you're doing, the networking, whatever your form of marketing is, add that layer of connection to it. Take the time to get to know your people. Take the time to build those connections with them, because that's the thing that converts. And the third thing is just show up and be consistent. Like, just be consistent. And consistency is key, right? Whether you're online, offline, new, old, whatever, wherever you are in your journey, the consistency is what's going to help you bring in those results consistently in your business. Do you have anything to add to that in terms of like just tangible things that they can do?
I mean, I'll just say yes to all of that. Like, literally the difference between when I was making 3K a month and 20K a month is not, like, I'm doing the same exact thing. I'm just doing more of it. I've gotten better at it, but I'm doing more of it. So just to like really reaffirm that, the connection piece, like 8,000 times, yes. And the consistency piece, I think it's just like, I'm a runner, right? Like, we get in shape because we keep showing up and going for our runs, not because one day we can wake up and run 10 miles. And I think just because this is something that came up on the call that I'll add is, and lean into selling more. Like, if you want to make more, sell more. Like, and that's a mindset like of its like own as well, and not in a gross sleazy way, but you want to make more, sell more. Like, it's kind of that simple.
For sure. I mean, the number one reason people don't make more sales is because they're not asking for it enough, right? They're not.
You want to know the biggest difference maker for me? I was like, oh, I'm not selling. Let me just start selling.
And
like, it's amazing.
And then not also like giving up or beating yourself up or like feeling like shit when you didn't convert or didn't sell or whatever. And then like, oh, I can't do this, making it wrong. Get up and try again, sell again. Again, if you know this is an area that I know I need support with, get the support. Figure out how to have the sales conversation that actually converts, because we don't wake up becoming natural salespeople. Sales is a skill, right? And you need to be able to learn that skill in order to make more money. So if that is something you're struggling with, get the support. It is going to bring money into your business, hands down, right?
It's game changing. Okay,
so final question for you is, okay, fill in the blanks. Making money is?
The best thing ever.
Love that answer. Love that answer.
I think it's such a heart-centered thing, quite honestly. Like, I think it's all about the money, not about the money at all. Like, in some ways I don't care about it, but I think it's just like, I know we're running out of time, so I'll save people the spiel, but I think it's a beautiful, wonderful thing.
Absolutely. 100%. You can do so many wonderful things with it when you make money. It's, I can go on and on.
Yeah, but again, we'll do another talk just about how wonderful that is.
For those of you who are here with us, I know there's quite a few of you who've been here from the beginning. Thank you so much for sticking around and joining us. If you have any questions, Kim, is it safe for me to say that if they have any questions, you'll be available to just hop into the comments and ask those? I will obviously do that as well.
Just tag me so I see it.
Perfect. She's in the group. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I loved this conversation. It's such an important one. I hope it was helpful and it was valuable for those people who are here. I just love the energy that you bring and your grace and your mindfulness around making money, which I think has definitely been one of, I'm sure you can speak to this as well, keys to your success, right? And I think just your openness and willingness to show that you weren't always like on top of your game, like you struggled, you worked, and you did the work that you needed to do to get to where you are, which is so permission giving for everyone, right? So thank you so much for being here. I am going to wish you and send you off with the biggest, happiest vibes this holiday season. And I know we're going to be speaking again, and we're going to be meeting in real life in 2020.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the conversation, the space. I know we have to hop off, but just all the love for the work you do. You're incredible. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you guys for watching. And again, I will see you in January for our next guest expert. Have a safe and happy holiday season until I see you again. All right. Bye, guys.